Hi everyone, this is Bill Knight. That's the last time I'll need to say that this semester. The purpose of this video is to give a brief overview of the 10 modules that we'll be covering this semester. If you click on the modules button on the left hand side of the home page, you'll go to the page that contains the list of 10 modules. We're going over them right now. Now the first module is on finance and economics. One of the first things that your textbook authors deal with is the economy. And that's because fluctuations in the economy will affect your financial decisions. So in this module, we'll find out what do we mean by fluctuations in the economy? What financial decisions do they affect? And how do they affect them? Now what you're going to find is that there is one type of asset that will gain value during an economic expansion and another type of asset that will lose value during an economic expansion. During an economic contraction, it's just the other way around. So, you'll find out what we mean by economic expansions and contractions and how to identify them, and what are the two assets that gain and lose value. Now, what you want to do is to avoid being stuck with the wrong kind of asset during a particular phase of the business cycle. Module 2 is on the time value of money. The time value of money concept is absolutely central to understanding finance. There are forces in the economy that will cause a pile of money to grow, and the forces in the economy that will cause the value of a pile of money to shrink. And these two forces are operating on the same pile of money simultaneously. So it's never obvious if you're getting richer or poorer unless you can measure the relative effects of these two forces. Now, this confusion can get us in a lot of trouble, especially with credit card debt. So we're going to identify those forces in this section, and you'll be able to measure what's happening to the value of your pile of money. Module 3 is on finance and accounting. As a student, it's very likely that you can keep all of your relevant financial information in your head. When I was your age, life for me was very simple. I had a stipend from a fellowship, I had monthly support from my parents, and I also had a part-time job. On the expense side, I had food, I had rent, and I had beer. Very, very easy to keep that in my head. Sometimes at the end of the month, I had a surplus. Usually at the end of the month, I had a deficit. But the spread between the two was manageable, and that's because I could keep it pretty much in my head. However, when you graduate and get a degree from the University of Maryland and become a professional, your life is going to become more complicated. One reason it's going to become more complicated is probably because you'll be making more than you need to spend at any given time. And so you'll have a surplus of funds. You'll need to know how to save it, where to save it, how much you're making, where it is. Now these things seem simple enough, but you know, when you get down to the into the pit and start doing it, you'll find that it's not all of that simple. Also, your life will become more complicated for a number of other reasons. You'll be making financial commitments. Undoubtedly a car, probably a house. At some point you'll want to take on a spouse. All of these will make your life much more complicated, and if you really want to make your life complicated, have children. So when you get to that stage, your finances will be way too complex to be able to keep in your head. You'll need to know some method of recording them and analyzing them. Analyzing to assess your current situation and whether it's improving or getting worse. You'll need to know that, and that's the stuff we'll be learning in Module 3. In Module 4, we'll learn about managing taxes. Taxes have a far greater impact on your financial situation than you realize. Between federal, state, and local income taxes, FICA taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, capital gains taxes, gasoline taxes, and a long list of other taxes. It's not unusual for a household to pay more than 40% of their income in some kind of a tax. And so therefore, it's imperative that you understand how to implement tax avoidance, not tax evasion, tax avoidance strategy. You can save yourself a ton of money by doing so. Module 5 is on cash management. Now, in this context, cash management means something different probably than what you imagine. Most people in this module want to learn how to conserve their cash and make it stretch. But there's no esoteric financial concepts for doing that. Be disciplined, spend your cash wisely, know what you're spending it on, know why you're spending it, and be knowledgeable of the alternatives. There you go. That's what you need to be able to spend your cash wisely and make it stretch. But in this context, cash management refers to finding the correct balance of the liquidity of your assets and the rate of return that they earn. Now, this may not make a lot of sense to you at this moment, but by the time we get to this point in the semester, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Module 6 is on consumer credit. Now, credit can be your friend or your enemy. It can help make you rich by giving you the ability to leverage real assets. This is a concept that we talk about in Module 1. Or it can make you poor with a lifetime burden of high interest rates. You'll be paying interest on something that you bought even long after it's a worthless pile of junk. Credit can be your master or it can enslave you. And the more you know about consumer credit, the better off you'll be, the better you'll be able to manage it, and the better you'll be able to make it work for you rather than work against you. Module 7 is on large purchases. For most households, the largest purchase they're going to make is going to be their home. And second largest is probably their car. So a little knowledge about this kind of purchase can go a long way and help you save a ton of money or avoid wasting a ton of money. I know plenty of people who are penny wise, even obsessed with saving a few pennies here or there. But they'll throw away money on large purchases like they have an infinite supply of it. It's much better and much less inconvenient to be the other way around. I mean, I like saving cents off here or there when I can, but personally, I'd rather tip 20% rather than 18%. I don't know, it makes me feel a little better, and the math is easier. And I don't mind at all paying for my buddy's lunch. Or most importantly, I prefer buying the Cheerios rather than the Tastios. But I would have to eat 2 lifetimes of Tastios to save what my old high school buddy just blew on a bad car buying decision. So the large purchases, more important than the penny pinching. Module 8 is on the principles of investing. As I emphasized in the introductory video, you're wasting your time trying to get rich quick. People who try to do that almost always wind up getting poorer even quicker. So this module is going to describe to you how to get rich slowly and the vehicles available for getting there. In this module, you'll learn about stocks and bonds and the nature of the markets in which they're traded. Other than the owner-occupied home, the majority of your investment assets will probably be in stocks and bonds, so you'll need to know a lot about them. Module 9 is on mutual funds. In this, mutual funds is the cheapest and most convenient way of owning stocks and bonds. And when somebody asks me for some quick investment advice, I almost always, virtually always tell them mutual funds. In this module, you'll find why mutual funds are the very best way for implementing your investment strategies. And you also will have a term paper on mutual funds towards the end of the semester, so you want to learn about a lot about them. Module 10 is on retirement. How are you going to support yourself for 30 or 40 years after you become too old to work? That's a pretty scary prospect, especially with Social Security going bankrupt after a couple of decades. So don't try moving in with your kids. You know, they'll keep you chained up in the attic probably. You know, I know some people who've done it the right way. They don't have to work. They have a very good retirement. They're able to keep themselves occupied. They are loving life despite the fact that they're old. And I know some people who've done it the wrong way. And believe me, you don't want that. It seems a long way off, but you've got to start now. You'll find that your absolute number one best ally in finance is time. Time is a better ally than knowledge, business acumen, luck. Time beats the heck out of all of those things put together. And as of this moment, you have time on your side. And in the last 10 minutes it took you to watch the video, some of it slipped away. Time is very, very fleeting. That's why you've got to start now, and that's why you've got to know what you're doing. So here are the 10 modules that we will be covering. Start now with Module 1. Click on Module 1, look at the objectives. There will be a video explaining to you what you will be learning in Module 1, and we'll go from there.